What's up, Busters? It's the Bug Catcher here today. And if you don't know, I'm smoking trees and catching Butterfrees. And if you can see by the title, it's the PokéPoint Part 2, baby. We're ready to get it in. Several topics I want to get off my chest today. And I'm just going to start with the big doozy. Pokemon graphics have always sucked and been behind schedule. And the perfect example is how long they took just to get Red and Blue out in the first place on a game that's the Game Boy Color. Now, I know they did a lot of, there's a lot of data in these games, right? There's a lot of data in these games. I get that. They hold a lot of storage or whatever, right? But that's not to say that they came out non-glitchy. We all know about Missing No. We all know about the glitches. We all know that these games are a mess, behind the scenes, right? The Psychic type don't even have no weakness in Gen 1 because the Ghost, it's immune to Ghost. Like you see what I'm saying? They've always been behind mechanically, I guess. I don't even know another way to put it. Now, Yellow really wasn't that much of an improvement, but Gen 2 really doesn't look that bad for what it is, right? Now, it's an improvement off of Gen 1. What can I say, right? It looks better, right? And for the Game Boy Color, it don't look that bad. But here, where we get into the meat and potatoes. All the Gen 3 games, right? Now, I absolutely love Leaf Green and Fire Red. Those are my favorite Pokemon games of all time. I know sometimes I say Sword and Shield, this and that, Alola. Fire Red and Leaf Green are the best games, truly the best games ever, because it's just Red and Blue, but better, right? Let's Go, they kind of, fucked with the story, so not really talking about that. But Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald, Leaf Green, Fire Red, they look good, but they're not the best games. They're not the best looking Game Boy games. For an example, has anyone ever played Kingdom Hearts Chains of Memories, right? Look at this game here. Tell me this game doesn't look better than anything Pokemon did on the Game Boy Advance. Look at this. Look, he's running around. Look at those. He just transformed his damn self. Look, I mean, look at these monkeys. The animation. This game is truly shitting on anything they put in Gen 3. And I'm not, or on the Game Boy Advance. And I'm not saying I don't like how Fire Red and Leaf Green look. Is what I'm, the point is they've always been behind graphically. And I'm just showing you an example after example. Just an example of what I am talking about. The games have always been bad. Let's get to Gen 4, the DS era. Again, not bad. I like Fire Red. I love how these games look. But comparatively speaking, Busters, excuse me. Now, the DS era. Diamond, Pearl, Platinum, Heart Gold, Soul Silver, Black and White. Now, while these games are aesthetically pleasing to me, I can admit that they don't look as good as some other games on the DS. Now, who is going to sit here with a straight face and tell me this doesn't look better? Who's going to? Who's going to tell me this doesn't look better? This looks like it came straight off the Wii, Busters. Straight off the Wii. This is a way better looking game. Super Mario DS is a way better looking game than anything that Pokemon did on the DS. I mean, just look. Look at those animations spinning around. You kind of get some of that in Black and White. But they've always been behind graphically. But now the 3DS era, I have to put credit where it's due. Bust bags. The games look great. But think about it though. They have that same similar 3D technology on the DS. I just showed you it with Super Mario DS, and that's just one game. I could have picked plenty of other games. That's just one example. So the 3DS had the DS had 3D capabilities. Pokemon couldn't. I get it. All right. Trust me, you're about to kill me in the comments. But I'm just stating facts. Like, they've always been outdone. On the Switch, on the Switch, are you kidding me? Now, while I think Let's Go looks amazing, right? Let's Go is up there. You can't tell me. I'm not even going to show footage of Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, Xenoverse 3. I'm not going to show footage of Scarlet and Violet, Sword and Shield. We know what those games look like. Sword and Shield, personally, I don't think looks bad. But, think about it. They want to talk shit about the trees in Sword and Shield, but did you see the trees that just went off the screen? Like, who the fuck wants to look at that tree all goddamn day? You know what I'm saying? But whatever. Now, Scarlet and Violet, they came out a mess, just like Red, Blue, and Yellow, and Green. Like, Pokemon's been doing this for years. They always put out games not really done. That being said, speaking of Scarlet and Violet, they just surpassed Sword and Shield as the second best-selling games of all time. And even though I said they're a mess, they deserve it. You know how many Gen 1ers there are who probably haven't played since maybe Gen 3 or 4? There's a guy, Non-Hero 787. He hasn't touched nothing past Gen 3, right? Like, I got a few of you guys here. So, just imagine a Gen 1er. All you got is even though they're open world-ish, you can kind of have some freedom. They're linear, right? The first 3 regions are linear. You put on Scarlet and Violet, it's open world Pokemon. You know how many kids in 96 to 2003 to 2010, all they dreamed about was open world Pokemon on a real console. I know we got the GameCube titles, but that they're not mainline. We wanted the new shit on the new shit, right? And they were always, just a kid has always dreamed of an open world Pokemon game, and Scarlet and Violet, while in many respects it sucks, it does deliver on that. Something else I'm just interested to talk about is humanoid Pokemon, right? Because the starters have been humanoid lately, and there's just a lot of discussion about designs in general. Are they lazy? Well, let me just talk about the humanoid ones, right? The problem I have with those Pokemon, I have a list of humanoid Pokemon I love, right? I'll just, Hitmonchan, Blaziken, Meowscarada, Machamp, Mr. Mime. I know, both of them. I could keep going. These Pokemon aren't bad. The problem is when the starter is too humanoid, right? In Gen 8, it took me a long time to get used to those guys, right? Like Grookey, I could take, because when you Pokemon camp with him, he has his drum on his back. So when he's walking around, he looks like a normal gorilla, just out in the wild, like starters should be, like from the first 4 or 5 regions. Just some random ass, gangsta ass, big ass shit, right? Like Embor's is a big ass fire pig. Does he have Chinese inspirations? Well, yeah. Just like Empoleon has French and inspirations, but that doesn't make, like, Empoleon's based on Napoleon. They don't make him a humanoid penguin. It's just a big ass penguin, right? I know he got other inspirations in that design. Blaziken, they did him perfect, right? He's humanoid to an extent, but chicken fighting's a real thing. So it really makes sense for a humanoid chicken. Hariyama's another one I like. Metacham's another one I like, right? The problem is the starters, like I was saying. So, Quaxley's final evolution, like, what the fuck is that? I'm not trying to catch that man dancing at the club when I go out. Like, that don't make no sense. I don't want my starter supposed to be something like Charizard where I could possibly ride on his back. And I don't know. Like, I get uncomfortable that my partner Pokemon, what they're called nowadays, is a fucking man. And like I said, I like Mr. Mime. There's a place for those type of Pokemon, but it's few and far in between, and not, not fucking the starters. That's the issue with the starters lately, is a lot of, and Meowscarada is another one that's humanoid. I just like it though, right? I just like it. Can't help it. I have a shiny Sprigatito that I'm about to use in a playthrough. Shiny Wiglet, motherfuckers! Wiglet's a beast, by the way. Off topic, thought I'd throw it out there. Anyway, speaking of the humanoid ones, let's talk about the most controversial one. Jinx, right? Now, this idea isn't totally mine, but Jinx should get a regional form. Well, this idea is mine, and then I'd seen in a ROM hack, I forget which one it's called, the one I played. But the first idea I'm going to say about Jinx is mine, Busters. And then the next one I saw in a ROM hack, right? So, if Jinx was just a ghost type, ghost ice from the start, it wouldn't have had an issue. Because you could have just said, it looks like Ghastly, right? You could have just played it off like, well, look at Ghastly. He's a dark blob. This thing's a ghost thing. This thing's a ghost thing that just has hair. They would have called it a ghost ice type. I think it would have got a lot less flack from the community. Now, that's just one thing. I saw in this ROM hack, it was one where, I don't know if it was everything in Kanto got, I've played a couple of these, right? Where everything in Kanto gets a new form. Everything in Emerald gets a new form. And I played one where everything out of everybody gets a new form, and it's through Kanto, right? So I'm not sure which one this was. I think it was the first one. But I seen one where Jinx's regional form is a water ice type, and it's like a mermaid with pink hair. Picture that. Mermaid fish Jinx. Picture, instead of the... I wish I could give a credit to that guy. If someone has that game, put it in the comments. Or your own ideas how to fix Jinx, right? Everyone saw the mega it was about to have in the leaks. Shit was fucking trash. Glad they canceled that shit. But Jinx could get, some sort of form like that, a regional variant that's like a mermaid, bro. And it would make sense why that thing sings. Because like ain't that what they're called, a siren? Like the evil mermaid type thing? You see, that's why we would know Lovely Kiss and stuff like that. But now, speaking of ROM hacks, and here's where I get to the last point of the day, Busters. Make sure you like and subscribe, please. I need them. I think ROM hacks and the leakers are hurting the community. And I say that, I think it's give or take, right? Because I saw T-Tar make a good point that, we have to speculate, the fans, we have to leak, we have to make ROM hacks because their hype season sucks, right? Like, they don't know, they're not good at hyping up their new games. So we got to do it. But if you remember in the leaks, they had a flying type Eevee. But they didn't want to put it out there because it looked too similar to fan art, right? And they didn't want to look like some swagging, jacking ass motherfuckers. And I can respect that. The TBC baby can respect Pokemon didn't want to look like some swagger jackers. But how many ideas, not everything at Pokemon got leaked, right? So let's just say, like, I guarantee, even though Gen 10's on its way, like, that shit's leaking, right? So it's pretty much almost done, in a sense. Like, it's done. You don't think that the other team ain't working on another Legends game already? Or they don't have an idea for Gen 11? Or another spinoff? So, what I'm saying is, we don't know what they got cooking. Right? Like, we don't know what they got cooking. So, not everything leaked, right? So, but they can see everything that we do. All the ROM hacks. What if they had a fire idea for a Legends game But there's a ROM hack that kind of does something similar. Now they can't touch it. Look how stingy they were with the anime and the games not wanting to be too similar. Like, who cares? They do. Well, if there's a ROM hack, they wanted to fucking use ultra wormholes for something, but there's a ROM hack about it, and then a similar idea. Now they can't. Now they got to think of something else. And I love the ROM hacks too, because it can give a different perspective of Pokemon, and it's a lot of passion coming in these games, but it could be very detrimental to us also. Because you don't know, because they clearly see everything we do. And you don't know what idea we might have thought of already that they done scrapped because we thought of it and they didn't want to copy it. And with that being said, I'm out. Keep it all the way up if you fucking feel me.